Welcome to Stars X. The Beatles. The name itself evokes an era of music revolution, cultural shifts, and artistic innovation.
How did you find America?
So I left to Greenland.
Has success changed your life?
Yes.
I'd like to keep Britain tidy.
Are you a mod or a rocker?
No, I'm a mocker.
I hear anyway that the four of you are going to be millionaires by the end of the year.
Oh, that's nice.
Have you got time? Have you got time to actually spend this money?
What money?
My name's Paul McCartney and I play bass guitar. Hello, people there. I'm George Harrison and I play solo guitar. Yeah.
This is Ringo Starr and I play drums. And this is John Lennon and I play better guitar.
They weren't just a band, they were a phenomenon, a movement, a soundtrack to an entire generation. But how did four young men from Liverpool go from playing in local clubs to becoming the most influential musicians of all time? This is the story of the Beatles. The Beatles' journey began in the working-class city of Liverpool in the late 1950s. John Lennon, a rebellious teenager with a passion for music, formed a skiffle band called the Quarrymen. One fateful day in 1957, he met a young Paul McCartney, who impressed him with his guitar skills and ability to tune a guitar, a rare talent among young musicians at the time. Shortly after, Paul introduced his friend, a quiet but immensely talented guitarist, George Harrison. The three bonded over their love for American rock and roll, idolizing musicians like Elvis Presley, Chuck Berry, and Buddy Holly. Through relentless practice and sheer determination, they honed their skills, playing in the rough and rowdy clubs of Hamburg, Germany. It was there that they truly became a band, enduring long, exhausting sets that pushed their musical abilities to the limit. At the time, their drummer was Pete Best, but when they secured a recording contract with producer George Martin at EMI, it was suggested that a change was needed.
I was called into Brian's office, but after about 3 or 4 minutes he turned around and said, "Pete, I've got bad news for you." He said, in a nutshell, the boys want you out, and they want Ringo Starr in. Well, I was completely shell-shocked by this, Dave. They caused me a lot of hardship, grief, financial embarrassment, but I persevered with my own lifestyle, and, I was strong enough in character to sort of turn around and say, okay, no matter what happened in the past, let's forget about it.
Enter Ringo Starr, a charismatic, steady-handed drummer who completed the Beatles as we know them. Before taking over the world, the Beatles honed their craft in the gritty clubs of Hamburg, Germany. Playing for hours on end, night after night, they transformed from amateurs into seasoned performers. Here, they learned stamina, chemistry, and a rebellious edge that would define their music. By the time they returned to England, they were unstoppable. With their first single, Love Me Do, the Beatles began their meteoric rise. But it was their 1964 appearance on The Ed Sullivan Show that changed everything.
All of us on the show are so darn sorry, and sincerely sorry, that this is the third and thus our last current show with the Beatles, because these youngsters from Liverpool, England, and their conduct over here, not only as fine professional singers, but as a group of fine youngsters, will leave an imprint with everyone over here who's met them. And that goes for all of us on our show.
73 million Americans tuned in, an entire generation captivated. Beatlemania was born. Their music was infectious, but their charm made them legends. Their humor, their style, everything about them was electric.
Let's talk about Woodbine. The Woodbine is the greatest little cigarette. For why? Because it says so on the packet. Goodbye.
They think your haircuts are un-American.
Well, it was very observant of them because we aren't American, actually.
I don't snore. You do, repeatedly.
Do I snore, John? Yeah, you're a window rattler, son. It's just your opinion. Do I snore, Paul?
With a trombone hooter like yours, it would be unnatural.
They dominated the charts, released film projects like A Hard Day's Night, and pioneered the concept of the modern rock band. As the 1960s progressed, the Beatles refused to be confined by pop music. With albums like Rubber Soul and Revolver, they embraced deeper lyrics and innovative studio techniques. But it was Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band that cemented their status as pioneers of rock. The album wasn't just a collection of songs, It was an experience. They explored new horizons, both musically and spiritually. Their trip to India in 1968 to study transcendental meditation with the Maharishi, Mahesh Yogi, deeply influenced their work.
The whole point of this course is to come to do long meditation. Normally people don't do meditation this length of time because they're too involved with day-to-day activity. So when we go back home, we meditate as maybe an hour in the morning, an hour in the evening, or whenever we have the time.
But beneath the surface, tensions were rising. The pressures of fame, creative differences, and personal conflicts began to take their toll. The White Album showed a fractured band, with members often recording separately. By Let It Be, the tension was undeniable. The famous rooftop concert in 1969 was their final public performance, a bittersweet farewell to the magic they created together. In 1970, Paul McCartney announced the unthinkable. The Beatles were over.
The final bulletin is that the Beatles have broken up. I don't know. And then there were two.
The dream was gone, but their music remained. Though the Beatles ended, their individual stories continued. John Lennon, alongside Yoko Ono, crafted deeply personal music, including Imagine. Paul McCartney formed Wings, proving he could dominate the charts on his own. George Harrison found massive success with All Things Must Pass, and Ringo Starr carved out a niche as a beloved solo artist. Tragically, in 1980, John Lennon was assassinated outside his New York apartment. The world mourned, and his loss was felt deeply. George Harrison passed away in 2001 after battling cancer. But their legacies, like the music they created, would never fade. The Beatles changed everything. They didn't just make music, they changed culture. Their influence is inescapable, felt in rock, pop, hip-hop, and beyond. The release of the Beatles. Get Back documentary in 2021 reignited the magic, showing the world the creative genius behind their songs.
Well, it was kind of magical for me because that period had, in my memory, had always been a little bit dark because it was to do with the Beatles breaking up. So the first Let It Be film was cut a little bit with that in mind. So I found it a bit depressing. And so when Peter Jackson was slated to do this version, I said to him, Peter, I'm not sure I'm going to like this because, I got blamed for breaking up the Beatles, and in actual fact, it wasn't me. So he sent me a little clip, which really saved my life.
Even decades after their breakup, the Beatles continue to inspire. They remind us of the power of music, of unity, of dreams that refuse to die. And as long as music exists, the Beatles will never truly be gone. The Beatles may have ended, but their music lives on in the hearts of millions. They were more than a band. They were a revolution, and their journey will never truly end. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.